Hey folks, so today we have some printer parts to put together. Got my aluminum build plate here, got a energetic pay sheet over here. It's a stainless steel, spring steel sheet. It's textured on one side, clean on the other. It came with a magnet. The magnet's a little too big for the surface, so this is actually the bottom, which is where the Keenovo is going to go, and that leaves me with some concerns. There's I got my build plate and it got a little scratched up a bit. So on the bottom at least, it's scratched up a bit. So I don't want any air pockets to form between the adhesive on the bottom of the Keenovo and the actual build plate. So my concern is that some of these scratches look a little deeper than surface. So I'm going to go ahead and wet sand this down. I went ahead and prepared a sanding block here with some 1500 grit sandpaper on it, wet sanding paper from 3M, and then I got some WD-40 here, and I'm going to go ahead and sand this down, see if I can't get this cleaned up a bit. Might have to go to a slightly lower grit if any of these are too deep, but we'll find out. So let's start the process. So a lot of people recommend using an orbital sander or something along those lines for wet sanding metal. And that's probably a good idea, except here I don't want to take too much off. And orbital sanders or powered sanders like that have kind of a tendency to go a little further than I want to go when doing just a surface cleaning job like this. So I'm just using that sanding block. And you'll see that it's starting to turn. It's kind of dull gray. If you're ever doing wet sanding, once you want to go through and clean it all, you'll see that, I don't know if you can see it in the video here, there's a finish to the aluminum. There's a grain to it. And when you finish off your wet sanding, it's always a good idea to kind of finish along that grain. Along the same run. This is a bit curved, so. Alright, and when you're done doing your sanding run, I recommend not using anything like paper towels to clean it. Use something like you can get these microfiber sheets off Amazon for pretty cheap. They're much better at getting up all the material. So it looks much better. Much better. See, that's all the stuff we removed. I'm not trying to take too much off, just enough that all the scratches are gone for the most part. And it looks like there's a couple spots here, over there, a little bit there. We'll sand those. Now this is the bottom of the build plate, so I'm not too worried about taking too much off and leaving it as an uneven build, or an uneven plate for any builds that go on it. That's more the other side. But you definitely make out the grain after the sanding job in there. Now, I have some stuff that I applied to the other side of this to remove, it's a polishing agent. It's called Blue Magic. I don't think that's really necessary on the underside. I don't really care how shiny it is. As a matter of fact, on the other side I don't care either, but it seemed like a good idea at the time. It might not be a bad idea just to get any of the additional stuff off of it. And those are pretty deep. Not too bad. Okay. I should go deal with that. The adhesive should be able to fill some of this in when we press it down on there, which we're going to do with the vacuum bag. So that is the underside of our sheet. WD-40. Yeah, it's much shinier. With the blue magic stuff all over it. But we're going to be putting the magnet down on that anyways. Alright. For the purposes of that, I have some gear I got to set up. Alright, so I cleaned and flipped over the build plate. This is the top. You can see that it's kind of the drills. I drilled where I did the drilling for the plate. I basically did a bit of a wider drill top so that it set in. There's a term for that, I can't remember it. But anyways, point being, since I've cleaned it and flipped it over, I'm going to apply this magnet here to it. And what happens there is that the idea is you take this spring steel sheet and drop it onto the magnet, and it holds it in place, and then you do your print, and when you pull it off, the magnet's fixed, and you can just pop your print off. Now, I've never done this before. I've never used a spring steel sheet. I'm going to do this anyways, but I do know that I want to get really, really good attachment for the adhesive against the plate. I don't want any air pockets in it. I don't want anything getting superheated. I don't want bubbles to show up. So if you look here closely, you'll notice that the plate is not completely covered with 3M adhesive. It's actually got about a couple millimeters on each side that are not. So, and it's the magnetic plate is, or the magnetic bed is actually a bit bigger than the build plate itself, which is fine. We'll just trim it. I've got a box cutter here for that. But I want to make sure that I get that when I lay this thing down, it's got adhesion from edge to edge. Because it's not, if I lay it down this way, and just do a flat lay down, it actually leaves it a bit exposed. So taking a piece of extra DIN rail that I have to kind of prop it up, and the object here is you set it on the edge of the DIN rail, line it up, and then kind of roll it on, and it actually is near perfect on that edge. There'll be either a lot less trimming or no trimming, and then we're going to go through and we're going to rolling pin any of the bubbles that might be in there out. And then once we've done that, we'll flip it back over once we feel like we've got all the bubbles and everything worked out on that, and we'll attach the heater, which is over there, which is a bit more involved because it's got a thermistor embedded in it. Can't just slap it on there and rolling pin it. I've also got a vacuum bag and a vacuum bag here, because we're going to, once we get both of these on there, we're going to sandwich it in there, put it in the vacuum bag, suck it out, and get a lot of pressure on both sides so that it adheres pretty well. We'll leave it like that for 24, 48 hours and see how it comes out. Anyways, so let's get started here. Like I said, I've never done this before, so it's kind of a newer process. Mistakes will be made, I'm sure, but that's how we learn. pressure on here. Putting so much pressure on here, I'm kind of afraid to snap these little wooden pegs off. Alright. So it's perfectly matched up on that end, which is wonderful. One less side to cut. So we flip it over. You can see. Perfect. Alright. So now we just got to cut these edges off here, just a few millimeters. And then once I'm done with this whole process, I'm going to have to etch out my mounting post holes. We got there. Nice. Alright, that cut easier than I thought it would. It's kind of a thick magnet. Which means that this should be easy too. Should be. Okay, that looks good. Let's go ahead and corner it. This gives the air bubbles that are in like areas up here, it's usually a shorter path out. So constantly stuck. That is a notch in my magnet. That's wonderful. That came like that because this just came out of the box. Alright. Take these. Put them in the trash. Over. Let's see how we look. It looks pretty good there. Now we have we want that to adhere really well. So what we're going to do is we're going to put that in the vacuum bag for 24 hours with the heater attached to the back end. But that is a different beast. So the heater, I have an orientation set for it. This is the rear because it's got a notch on it. I don't like the way that looked. That was sitting up front. The build plate showed up with that notch, so we're gonna put that towards the back. And these are front mounting posts, rear mounting posts, and then we put the heater right there. Now, this obviously. No. We can use that maybe on that part of it, that part, but we don't want to roll over our thermistor or our power input or any of that stuff, so we can't use that whole thing the entire time. Now for this, I'm just going to do a quick spritz of cleaner on it. A fresh towel. So this is stainless steel magic. We use it on all of our stuff upstairs in the kitchen. It works fantastic. It's not abrasive, so it's really good at leaving a nice streak-free shine, no fingerprints, stuff like that. And voila, it looks clean. That's not good. That's bad. There's one spot that apparently got a little missed when I was doing my wet sanding. Right there. And it's deep. So I'm probably going to have to get some different grit sandpaper, go over that real quick. So we'll do that and come back to this. Alright, so I'm going to cut some smaller strips of sandpaper here because I don't want to re-sand the whole thing. I want to clean that up. Maybe a little bit of that, and any other minor abrasions that are one there too. So when this is flipped around from the way I had it previously and the way the light comes in and hits it, sometimes it's hard to kind of tell. I should have spun it and made sure that everything was clean beforehand, but it can kind of be difficult to tell where the deeper abrasions are, where the deeper gouges are. Because the way the light hits it, you can't necessarily see it from certain angles. So by flipping it around, I am actually able to see it a whole lot better because the light is coming in at an angle. So here, I don't see them. There's one right there. That one I did see. But the other one up here, it's really hard to make out because of the way the light's coming in. So I guess it's good that I changed the orientation on it because I really don't want to put that heater on here and have any of those kind of air pockets in there and run into a fire hazard in my house. It's a nice house. So I'm gonna clean that guy. That guy. I'm just wetting. I could probably just wet the sandpaper, but this will actually help me keep track of where I need to sand. And if I find anything else. That should be outside of the heater space. Just in case. Alright, so we went over this 1500 grit before. Obviously didn't get these out, so we're going to go over these with 400 grit. And like I said, this is the bottom side of the build plate, so I'm not too concerned about the bed being a little bit warped or anything like that. We're going to go ahead and start here. Now you could just do straight sanding on this, dry sanding. But I don't like doing that. It throws a lot of particulate up in the air. And while you can wear a mask, it's still can be a pain to clean up after. This doesn't throw particulate, or not nearly as much anyways, and easy to clean up. 1500s, it takes next to nothing off. It's just sand forever. Now 400 doesn't take much off either, but you can definitely take more off than you want. You're trying to deal with really tight tolerances. Found that out the hard way when I was trying to sand down one of the posts that go into the gearings, the printer, and the 400 took more off than it should have. I had to completely redo it with 1000 grit. It took longer, but I got it right down to where it needed to be. We're going to go over this the whole time. So you get pressure on it. From the grain, make sure we're going the right way. And there might be an easier way to go about doing this. This might actually even be unnecessary, but it's my first build. I don't kind of feel like taking the chance of having to go back and redo it later. So if we can get it done the first time correctly, that would be ideal. Scratchy, but it's not like a gouge, so it's gonna be fine. Let's clean it. Don't want to mix the ones that I'm cleaning off the WD-40 and the aluminum with the ones that I'm actually cleaning the plate with. Probably not be a good idea. Alright. So, next, rear of our build plate. Extra 400 grit paper. So we want this to go right here. So our build plate here is 305 millimeters square, and our heating pad is slightly smaller. It's 240 square. So simple math says I have 65 millimeters on that is unaccounted for here in my heating pad. So we want to, I kind of want to keep it dead center if I can. So I need to go through and calculate 32.5 from each side. There's where my corner's going to be. I'll do one down there. I'll do one down here. So, what we'll do here is we'll see our adhesive sheet. Pull it open, set my corner, and apply. That's dead in the middle. Good news is this thing's stiff compared to the other one, the magnet, which means I can set it and drop it, kind of roll it on. Square. Not ideal. On me. It's easier to do like this. Yeah, okay. Live and learn. That's much better. You see all 4 marks. So let's see if we can. Really hard to get the pressure from that orientation on that edge. All right. It is firmly applied. So Now, I'm putting these towels on here because I'm a little worried about the edges of the plate. They're kind of not sharp, but I don't want to vacuum seal this bag and have it cut a hole right through it, because I know the vacuum I'm sealing the bag with is got some power to it. Static would hold it, did not. I'm actually more worried about this side than the other because the magnet should protect the other side. This is still a lot of pressure from the bag to keep the bag off the edges of the plate because of the seams on the rag. We'll keep all the pressure on the but hopefully not slice the bag open. Which I had happened at the beach a few weeks ago when we stuck something in there that should not have been in there. Wires are not on the surface. Oh, the cumbersome thing. Yeah, I think I need to slide this further in. The edge is keeping me from pulling it off clean. Round 3. The flap in here is supposed to prevent backflow, but let's still do some more. Let's try this guy. That seems better. And it's still sliding. That means there's air in there. I have an idea. Should get hard open the area back around. Okay, yeah, that's tight. Yeah, that's really good. And it's sealed. So now we're going to leave it like that for 24 to 48 hours. And hopefully we get really nice adhesion. We'll check back in then.